You ever feel like you lost yourself or you want to regain that mojo or energy that you once had? What's good? It's Rob Cressy and welcome to Built for the Game. And today I want to share a very candid story and episode about something that I experienced within the last 24 hours, which was actually 2 years and change in the making, all around losing your identity and reclaiming it and the process for making that happen. And for many of us, we go through life events that change your perspective of the world or the way things were versus the way things are right now. And for the longest time, I guess for 13 years, I lived in Chicago as an entrepreneur and creator, doing that full time. I could create whenever I want, up at 5, creating till 8 p.m. Boom. It's amazing. This was the DNA of who I created myself as every single day. And I had a connection to my dream. My dream was to get paid to talk about sports for a living. So one of the things that I did is at my home studio, I had baseball card wallpaper because for me, it was representative of the dream that I had of talking about sports every single day. So boom, I saw that. I had that connection. I had that energy. So lived that life as this creator and this sports guy for a decade plus. COVID hits, boom, wipes out the sports industry. And it was an opportunity for me to step into a true calling as a coach. I never set out to become a coach. I just lived like a coach for more than a decade. And what they oftentimes say is entrepreneurship is the greatest personal growth and development program known to man. So I just lived like a coach for a decade before I ever even had any desire to do something like this. And we'll land the airplane in a second with this. I just want to give you the backstory. And about 2.5 years ago, we moved from Chicago to Sarasota, Florida. Why? Because my wife was pregnant with our first child, something that we were super excited about. And we thought about lifestyle design for the kid. And while Chicago was amazing and really served us, we really liked the idea of one, being around family because my wife's parents retired down here. 2, super nice weather. 3, a lot more space. And I'm like, you know what? I'm ready for that next phase of my life to go from living in Chicago, partying all the time, to being a family man. And just like that, we cut the cord. We buy our first house down here in Florida. The baby's coming 2 months later. And then boom, since then, for the last 2 years and change, we've been on this journey of complete newness. New friends, new everything down in Florida, new lifestyle, new baby, new creating and business and everything in between. And over the last, let's go a month or so, I've been yearning for a connection or a juice for myself. And this isn't something that I would say is I'm living in lack. I'm very aware of my self-talk. I've got habits and routines to design myself into the person and create who I am every single day. And I'll share some of those processes. But along the way, there's just small little inches that fell off. So for example, when we moved down to Sarasota, and I'm now working out of my home studio here, I designed it, but it didn't look like it did in Chicago. I did not put up my baseball card wallpaper. Why? Well, I love sports, and sports was a big part of who I was and what I did. That wasn't an area that I focused on anymore. That instead, I have a goal of helping 10 million people. So the personal growth and development and the business side of things is where I was specializing more. So the story that I told myself was, you know what? I'm going to create a more professional looking studio. One that speaks a little bit more visually to what I am now creating on a regular basis. There, once again, this is just the story there. And then day after day, I'm creating all this and it's totally good. But then I realized something, that I was always inspired when I went into my studio. But over this weekend, I wasn't. And the little light bulb went off. And I'm very in tune, like I said, with who I am. So if all of a sudden I feel this resistance popping up in my head, I'm like, yo, dog, what's up with this thing here? And then I just audited it. And I used the phraseology, lost your mojo or finding your identity, because I think we can all relate to what that looks like on a variety of different levels, because there's a macro one. You go through a massive breakup and you can feel like you lost your identity. There, you could lose your identity as a creator. You can lose your identity in a variety of things, going from Chicago to Sarasota, Florida, to having a kid, a variety of ways. So we're looking at inches right here. And I sat there, and out of the blue yesterday in the morning, it was just a bananas day in our world. Our kid, or our son, came down with something, so he's less than 100%. The day just did not go as expected. And I just sat there where life is one of those days where you think you're going to go this way, and life's like, nope, I think we're going to turn this somewhere else. So with this in mind, I've got this upside down day happening, and I was just way more in tune to what's going on. And I said, you know what? I need to I'll capture my language. I get to change this energy, change this mojo. And I know some things to be true. Change your environment and it'll change how you feel about things. So one of the things that I've learned on, if you've ever lost a client or gotten into an argument with someone, or you've received some bad news, it can flood you with emotions where you can either feel the anxiety on your chest, or maybe you get hot, or I know in my case, this loop of a thought just keeps going over and over and over, like, how'd this happen? What did I do? What could I have done wrong or differently? Things like that. So I know you can always remove yourself from the current environment, go take a walk, because once you start moving your physical body, it'll change the way that you feel about things. I then throw on music, so boom, loop in some Bob Marley, come back 15 minutes later, all of a sudden you've changed your state physically as well as mentally. So it's one of those things that I know in my back pocket is there. But what about when this is the place where you work all the time? So despite this chaotic day yesterday, I said, you know what? I am reclaiming my mojo in the juice that I felt when I originally started my entrepreneurial journey, where one of the questions is always, what would you do every single day, no matter what, even if you never got paid to do it? And for me, it was always talk about sports and create. I was like, I love to do this. So for me, that was the logical progression of what I wanted to do. But all along the way of playing business and entrepreneur and being a family guy and all of these things, sometimes you can just lose that part of you that was so ripe and vibrant. It was the core of who you are and what you did. And hopefully you understand this juice that I'm talking about, because I want to reclaim my juice. And the first thing that I did is I said, you know what gets me my juice back? This baseball card wallpaper. Why? Because in the inches of business and content, I saw something last week all along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, if you're creating content that just shares information with the world, there's an endless amount of competitors out there. And I was like, that actually makes sense. The how do I ... You can Google that or go on YouTube and find anything. But if you can challenge people in their way of thinking and their perspective, that is a one of one. That is different. And then I saw another thing all around coaching. People aren't necessarily, everybody has a different mousetrap. Oh, you need this, you need SEO, you need podcasting, you need video, you need Facebook ads, you need blah, 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 blah. There's always something else out there that we think is going to be the thing. But as a business owner or an entrepreneur or as a coach, the thing that actually stands out the most is being different. And it's something that I've always prided myself on, not be different for different sake, but I'm creative, I'm unique. By design, I create and cultivate my energy every single day. So within this, I'm like, you know what? I am this person. I am going to recreate this. So in between 1 hour baby duty shifts yesterday, I started to completely redesign my studio to the point where I took everything that was in this office and I threw it into the hallway and the guest bedroom right next door. And I said, all right, we're starting with a blank canvas. And all we have right here is this black basketball hoop, which is drilled to the wall. From there, blank canvas, baby. So I then went into the garage, and for 2 years, I had these 6 massive sheets of baseball cards. And these baseball cards are all of the cards that I had when I was growing up in Pittsburgh as a kid. I love to collect cards because I love sports. And of course, this is pre-internet era, so I'm dating myself, but I love sports and I loved cards. So I just had all of these with me my entire life through every single move. And there was always a part of me that was like, man, I would love just to get this back up. And as the universe would have it, one of the things that I'm really working on and investing in right now is my short form video content. And if you're following me on Instagram at Rob Cressy, you'll notice that I'm testing a lot of different things out, different formats, different topics. I'm also changing up my camera angles to more modular where you're not just seeing the same thing. Well, all of a sudden, I started to see my studio differently, where I was like, instead of just a Rob talking to the camera setup, what if my studio could be modular, where I have 3 or 4 different backdrops that I could create with anytime that I want to create? That way, if I want to shift camera angles, it's not just a white backdrop. It's, wow, there's actually some visual stuff here. So with this, now my juices are really starting to flow. And I remember the baseball card wallpaper, and I was like, you know what? This is my opportunity to be different and to stand out and to reclaim and reconnect the juice of what originally started all of this with me. And it's a slightly long-winded story, but I wanted to share this with you because maybe right now you feel like you lost your mojo or your identity, or that juice is missing on something. And my encouragement for you is, number 1, audit your environment. Are you sitting at the same spot every single time? If so, what can you do to change things up, to create a different juice or a different identity there? Number 2, I would actually encourage you to audit any of the areas in your life in which you feel stuck or overwhelmed or like something is missing. Because one of the reasons why I am so fanatical about my morning routine is not to check off the boxes of doing a morning routine, but it is because of what it creates in myself. I see my morning routine as an ability to create my energy, to create my identity, to create who I am. And there's levels to this game for everybody. And for me, I have my declarations, my I am statements that create the self-talk and the power of who I am. I am infinite love. I am abundantly generous. I am a force of attraction. I am built for this. Boom, I've got a variety of these things. So on a micro basis, every single day, I create this in myself. But what was missing for me, air quotes missing, was this extra juice and this extra identity. And I wanted to share this because, number 1, this is real time. Number 2, maybe it's relatable for you. Even as a high performer, it doesn't mean that everything's always puppy dogs and rainbows. And one of the perspectives that I can always bring to the table for you is sharing what's going on in my life and in my experiences as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a coach, as a husband, as a father, as someone who used to live in a big city, then moved into a small city in a completely different part of the world. I've got a lot of unique experiences that each step of the way, wow, this is new. Let's create and explore what's going on here. And I feel a lot of renewed energy and optimism and juice and mojo for myself right now. And it's not like this thing completely goes. We're talking about inches, right? When you're going from good to great, we're just looking for those small little inches. And for me, this inches was just redesigning my studio. But I want to share that with you. And I would encourage you to also look at your daily habits and your daily practices. What are the things that you are doing every single day to feed yourself and build up that identity of who you are? I know for myself, 1, I use podcasting where I'm on the receiving end. 2, books every single day. 3, conversations with friends and people that I admire and trust. And then number 4, my notes from coaching programs, books that I've read, where I can reactivate those things and bring myself back up. And this is something that is a rediscovery process. It's a reenergization process. I don't even know if that's a word, but we just turned it into a word. And when you have this in your creator tool belt, the ability to re-energize yourself whenever you want, whether it's just reading something, here's something that I'm doing right now that has got me on fire. I'm listening to Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act, on Spotify. I didn't even know Spotify had audiobooks. I mainly just listen to music and podcasts there. All of a sudden, it's like, we got audiobooks. I read his book twice last year, and it was the best book I read in 2023. So now all of a sudden, I get a daily drip of Rick Rubin. Sign me up. So this is sort of my way of saying, here's what's going on in my world. Hope can help you. If you've got any thoughts or questions around this, finding or recreating your identity or your mojo, hit me up. Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn at Rob Cressy. Sending tons of good vibes your way. Hope you have yourself an amazing rest of the day.